What's up, people? What was that intro? That was a funky intro. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the anime sphere today. Okay, and that is this little interview between Bleach's mangaka Kubo and Jujutsu Kaisen's mangaka Akutami. There's a whole lot of hullabaloo on Twitter right now about this interview, specifically the lower right hand portion. Can you see my mouse? I don't know if you can see my mouse. The little right hand portion where it says, the interviewer, how about the other characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, for example? The women characters that you found interesting. Kubo says, sorry to say this in front of the author, I cannot find any attractive women in Jujutsu Kaisen. Overall, don't you find their personalities unyielding? When there's a bias in the number of genders that appear in the manga, meaning, I guess, more men versus more women, most of the time, the author's tastes in preferences are reflected, so is it Akutami's preference to have strong female characters? Now, Akutami says, no, you can't see my mouse, look at that. This is the one I was talking about, down here. These boys, okay? So, up here, Akutami says, actually, it's myself kind of trying to evade. I have an aversion to drawing women. I put the brakes on to draw a graceful character, so it's not as easy for him, basically, is the gist of it. Now, a lot of people are really fixated on this specific paragraph from Kubo that he thinks the women in Jujutsu Kaisen are ugly. Now, there's a thing out that says that the translation was wrong, and this might shock you to find out about me. Sorry, I'm not bleeping names here. Sorry. This might shock you to learn about me. But I can't speak Japanese. So this guy who says that, maybe it's wrong or whatever, he could be just as wrong as the original translation. I don't speak Japanese. I can't fact check this guy. But right here, he's saying that the correct translation is more that he does not have a favorite female character in Jujutsu Kaisen. And to be fair, that certainly seems more reasonable, right? So the question is over here, who is your favorite character? He says his favorite character is Nanami. And then the next question is, what about the other characters? What about your favorite girl character? And Kubo says, I don't really have a favorite girl character. That to me makes a whole lot more sense than Kubo randomly being like, yeah, bruh, them bitches have tiny titties, and I ain't about that. That shit's pretty whack, right? Like, Kubo he might think that. He draws a lot of big boobies, and then later in the interview, he actually says he likes big boobies. That's like his thing, is the booby man. His name is Tite Kubo, all right? You can literally, his name is Tite Kubo. That's canon. That's factual to him in his life. But it certainly makes more sense for him to say that he actually just doesn't have a favorite girl character, because he doesn't particularly like the personality type of the unyielding, strong lady. Now, I don't know. There's a conversation to be had in here, right? And it's buried in here a little bit. But there is definitely a conversation to be had about the representation of women in manga in this discussion. I don't think people are having it the right way. I don't think getting mad at Kubo because this translation of the interview said that he thinks Jujutsu Kaisen ladies are ugly and they have poopy faces because they don't have big old boobies, and so they don't have big old boobies, so they're lame or whatever. Not really the point, right? The point of the conversation is that it's not a secret that Akutami's female characters are well represented. They're very well done. Now, Akutami himself is not particularly interested or like going out of his way to do that. But you can see over here that Kubo says that I feel like there's a lot of different kinds of male characters in this series. You have the frivolous ones like Gojo. You have the very devoted, serious ones like Megumi. You have the happy boys like Yuji. But he says that there's very few types of women. He doesn't have multiple female personalities. All of his women are generally strong, fighter, assertive, powerful ladies. Nobara, Maki, Mai. I guess you could say like Miwa could maybe be like a slightly, she's not quite as in your face about it as them, but at the same time, she's becoming a jujutsu sorcerer to get money to save her brothers. Like, she's still assertive, powerful lady getting it done, and that's fine. But his statement is just that the women in Jujutsu Kaisen are a little bit more one note than the men, of which there's a vast quantity of male personality. And for the women, it's less diverse, I guess, is what he's saying. And Akutami says, actually, that's not really what I'm going for. And Kubo says, so you don't particularly like strong women, right? So, again, to me, it's weird to conflate Kubo saying, like, oh, I think that there's just a lot of strong women, and that's not really, my favorite female thing, to these characters are uggos because they don't have big old tiggle boobies. I mean, Kubo drew Rukia, right? That was the female lead of his series, was Rukia Kuchiki, who is certainly not a tiggle bitty lady. Now, anyway, this is not to defend Kubo, because Kubo is, other than, I guess, Rukia, his track record for not super sexualizing his characters is not very good. So this is not to defend Kubo on that front, other than Rukia, because I do think Rukia is actually a great female character. But it's more to talk about how to frame this conversation in a way that makes sense, I guess. Because you can look at Kubo and be like, oh, this dude only cares about BBs, and you're probably at least semi-right. But that's not really the problem, right? The problem is with the industry and the portrayal of women in the industry. How rare women are lead characters. That's why something like Act Age, which, I don't want to get into all that crap. It's gone, and the author was a horrible person. But the fact that not only were women the primary leads, both the lead female and the rival character were prominent female characters, was amazing. It was great. And I'm not saying that no manga has a female lead with a female rival, right? Like, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm sure there are some more that I just don't know. But it's certainly not commonplace, especially in shonen, to have women be in prominent positions that aren't, like, obsessed with boy, Like, look at Kishimoto. Not to reignite the Kishimoto slander power hour, but, like, Naruto women mostly just suck, like, a lot. Like, just terrible. They're awful. They're awful. Sakura just spends all of her time being really sad about Sasuke and trying to find Sasuke, and then he tries to kill her, and she's like, I really like him, though. He's got hot eyes. Those eyes, that Sasuke booty. And, like, Hinata is just like, yeah, Naruto was nice to me when I was like 6. And so I am going to follow him every night, and I'm going to knit him sweaters, and I'm going to sleep in his closet, and I'm going to raid his hamper until we're adults. And he decides that he loves me, and that's my contribution as a character to the series. And Akutami's women aren't like that. They're great. And people are right to say that they're great. But why is it? Like, think of it from a bigger perspective. This is a rambly video, but you need to kind of extrapolate it out, right? And think about, are Akutami's women that incredible? Like, on a grand scale, right? I mean, Maki is almost kind of stereotypical, right? She's the underdog character who nobody believes in, and she says, screw you, I'm going to make it my own way. I mean, that's basically Naruto's whole thing in the beginning, right? Is everyone's like, this fucking kid sucks. And he's like, nah. So what is it that makes Maki so special then? It's kind of the fact that she's a woman getting to operate in that space, right? Like, that's not a space generally given to the female character. Same with Nobara. Nobara is, she's the girl on the team, so she is the one chick in the boy band, just like Naruto characters always are for some reason. Why is every team in Naruto 2 dudes and a girl? Is that like the exact population of Konoha is like there's 2 dudes for every 1 woman? And so there must be a lot of like lonely dudes in Konoha. Because if the men outnumber the women 2 to 1, then like half the dudes aren't getting married, and the incel population in Konoha must be through the roof. But anyway, Nobara still kind of occupies that space. She is the female in the boys group, but Nobara, one, she's a major primary fighter. She fights all the time, right? She in every major arc, she is a combatant. Two, she has no particular romantic interest in anybody. She drops one line about wanting to get a boyfriend, and it's only in reference to she doesn't want Yuji to become romantically involved with someone before she does. It's a gag line. It's a comedy line. And then three, she's supremely confident in who she is, And that's like her famous line, the one that everybody loves, where she says that she loves herself when she's fighting and being strong, and she loves herself when she's being girly and cute. And that's, again, something that's really special in a female character, because girl characters tend to get the role of, like, when you have a strong girl character, usually they're resentful in some way of, like, stereotypically feminine stuff, Like, that's how they're portrayed by male writers, especially, is like, if a girl is strong, a lot of the times they just have to write her like a boy and then make her, like, angry at femininity. Or, like, you can't... A strong girl has to be basically a guy. And that's not what Nobara is. Nobara is a girl who is strong and likes both of those aspects of who she is. She doesn't need to make one feel less important in order to justify herself to herself, right? She loves herself the way that she is. Awesome thing to have for a character. And again, that is a role, or sort of a, I guess, a trope for shonen. Like, it's not special, to give the speech that says, I am who I am and you won't change me. But it is special to give that speech to the female. I hate saying female. I say it... God, it's such a gross term. Female. The femoids. Like, I say it because we're talking about things that aren't real. And female character just sounds better than girl character, because it sounds like I'm pushing my glasses up, like I'm real smart, being very scientific and analytic. I mean, I'm real smart. But, like, it's still gross to say female this many times. Anyway, Akutami is taking tropes that apply to girl characters, or apply to boy characters, sorry, and he's putting them on girl characters. And that is what makes them so great. And you kind of got to think about that, right? Like, take Kubo out of the equation. If you're really mad that Kubo likes big old booby, like, mommy milkers, that's your prerogative, and that's fine. You can be mad about that. I'm not going to tell you not to be mad about something that genuinely bothers you. Personally, I do not find it misogynist to say I prefer women with big boobies. That's just me. If you think it's disrespectful or whatever, fine. You can think that. But Kubo's comments are not the equation of the real problem. And, you kind of have that equation right in front of you. Kubo's just saying, I don't like any of the girls in Jujutsu Kaisen, really. I don't find any of them that special because they're all kind of the same to me. Now, I don't agree with that. I think all the girls in Jujutsu Kaisen are very different in their own way. But Kubo doesn't like the personality trope of tough ladies, and that's fine. Whatever. The real equation of the issue in the industry is the fact that you're looking at characters in Jujutsu Kaisen that are pretty tropey. Like, Maki, I think, is my favorite example of, like, pretty tropey. Like, the stereotypical shonen boy tropes apply to her in spades. But you got these people who are, like, going crazy about how awesome she is and progressive she is and how cool it is that she's a girl. And you realize it's only because they're applying pretty baseline shonen tropes to girl characters, because girl characters are generally not allowed to be the ones that get them. Now, you can look up 1.5 million reasons why that might be, whether it be because they're appealing to men, or they're sexist, or whatever the reason is. I don't care about that, as much as it should tell you something about the way that women in manga are consistently portrayed, right? Like, taking pretty baseline, standard, tropey dialogue and applying it to women in these grand ways is great, and it's what people need to do. But the fact that we view something so simple as, like, revolutionary and important should be the thing that tells you there's something wrong with the way the majority of the other women in the industry are just like portrayed, you know? Like having Sakura give a line about like, I love being beautiful and strong, versus what they did, which was like, I am useless because I focus too much on being pretty, so I'm gonna hack my hair off and I'm strong now. I don't care about being pretty. It's like, you can be both, you know? You can care about being beautiful and about being strong, because being a woman is a unique experience. It's something that I don't want to say that men can't write about, because obviously they can, but it's something that, like, being a strong woman or having confidence in who you are as a woman is not just being a guy, being more like the guys, you know? And that's something that shonen manga really struggles with, is every time it wants to draw a woman that is either strong or taking steps to become stronger and more useful to her companions, it's always she becomes more like the guys are. And Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't do that. Its girl characters are allowed to be powerful and contributive and of value without either becoming more like male characters or being in some way obsessed with and or subservient to a male character, right? And this is such a rambly video. These off-the-cuff rants, man, you're going to have to get used to these. These are a mess. But that my point in general is just like, there's a real conversation to be had here about the manga industry as a whole and the portrayal of women in it. And if you're going to let that conversation stop at Kubo likes big old boobies, what a freak, then you're not helping the conversation, because you're not actually looking at the issue, right? Like, this is not to defend Kubo, because I'm gonna like Bleach no matter what. I mean, the dude could come out and be like the worst guy ever. I have no attachment to Kubo. He could come out and be like, yeah, I actually have murdered like so many dogs. And I'd be like, oh, well, fuck you, but I'm still reading Bleach. Like it's not, I'm not gonna not experience Bleach anymore because Kubo sucks. I won't buy it. I won't give him money anymore to read it, you know? But series still exists, right? I still read Rurouni Kenshin, so sorry. But looking at Kubo's comments and being like, this is a Kubo problem is wrong. Looking at these comments and being like, this is what the manga industry is like, is better, right? Now, again, personally, I don't think that Kubo's phrasing is particularly wrong here. I think he was asked the question, and the translation is funky, and people are taking it to kind of mean what he didn't really say, and it's a whole thing. But I also don't care if you're like, if you're actually offended, that's fine. I'm not telling you not to be. You can be as offended as you want. But I just think it's important that you don't lose sight of the real conversation. And you don't lose sight of what actually makes Jujutsu Kaisen characters great. Jujutsu Kaisen characters aren't great because they're drawn like realistically shaped women. I mean, that's nice. But like, Nobara could have honkin' bangers and still be a really great female character, right? Like, having big old titties does not disqualify you from being a good character any more than having like a realistic body shape automatically makes you a good female character. You know? It's all in the way that they're portrayed, and Akutami does a great job of that. And that is what you should be focused on, and that is why you should kind of understand why the industry itself really sucks in this regard. So that's all I got. I was hoping this was going to be a quick one, and it's like 20 minutes, so goddamn. Alright, that's my second rant. I hope you like it, or don't. Don't get mad at me, internet. I don't know. I'm tired. See ya.